Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another show. Hope you're doing well. It is Saturday here, Saturday afternoon. Tomorrow is the World Cup final. England. Still feels weird to say England in the final, in the World Cup final against Spain. Quite remarkable just being there the other night, watching the Australia game, seeing that all play out. The atmosphere was remarkable, and of course Sam Kerr had to score, but luckily it didn't ruin England's chances. But yeah, just hopefully now England can bring it home, because it's surreal to think going to be in that stadium tomorrow night, and hopefully they can finish off this tournament with the perfect ending as they did last summer at the Euros. But from a Chelsea point of view, I want to do kind of a West Ham preview, go through the players that could be starting, my kind of preferred starting 11. We'll talk about Lewis Hall, and then we'll also talk about Reece James, his latest injury setback, and kind of my feelings on that. If you are new around here, please hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be back in the UK next week. This time next week, it'll be back to the SonOfChelsea studio, and I'm actually going to be at the Luton game. So very excited to be back at the Bridge, watching Chelsea live for the first time this season. Hopefully off the back of the first league win against West Ham. We'll start there because, of course, MOISES CAICEDO, Romeo Lavia announced for me Thursday evening time. I think probably early morning, mid-morning in the UK it was announced. We knew the deal was complete. There was a little bit of confusion whether something had gone wrong because it was taking a while for the announcement to actually come out. But great signing. And now we hope that maybe MOISES CAICEDO and Romeo Lavia will both play a part against West Ham. I think it's more likely that Lavia just is on the bench, given the lack of training time with his new teammates. If they're doing a session on Friday, maybe Saturday as well, just before the game. But I think it's more likely because MOISES CAICEDO being kind of the massive signing. I just think it's more likely he plays a bigger part in this game and where he fits in Chelsea's system. If you look at what Poch selected for the first game against Liverpool, I just think it's more likely he features and maybe gets his first start against Luton next week. Poch may surprise us. Both of them may be in there. I think it's more likely Caicedo, because of that time, will be playing in this game. And it's an interesting game for Chelsea in terms of the ground. I mean, the London Stadium, we've had a sketchy record there, and by sketchy I mean pretty bad. In terms of going there, we've lost quite a few games. Last season was quite a frustrating draw. The season before that, we lost 3-2. We did win there, one of our rare wins in the lockdown season. I believe Werner scored that day. But we have lost there a few times, and of course it's their first game. West Ham are an interesting prospect. Of course, losing Declan Rice is such a massive blow to them. But then also seeing some of their business has been all right. I think James Ward-Prowse is a good signing, good Premier League professional, and I think obviously gives you, as Chelsea well know from last season, a threat from set pieces that you always have to be wary of. But I'm interested to see how that develops this season, because there's a part of me that thinks David Moyes should have left West Ham after the conference win. It's kind of not going to get much better than that, and you've lost your best player now. So we'll see how that develops. But from a Chelsea point of view, it's a great chance to get our first win of the season, and also hopefully start to see that attack click and score some goals. I think from my point of view, I'd go to the 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. I think the three-back system very much was for Liverpool and very much based on injuries. And I just feel, although West Ham, as we know, can be a dangerous transitional team, I do think Chelsea will want to impose themselves a lot more in this game. And maybe just adding another attacker to me makes a bit more sense in this game. So Robert Sanchez in goal. I have gone with a back four of Malo Gusto, obviously in for Reece James. Great to see him maybe get his first start in a Chelsea shirt, because I thought he did really well during pre-season. Looks very ready to step in when needed, and that is this time right now. Thiago Silva and Levi Colwill is going to be my back two. Axel Disasi, I think he is obviously scored last week, but still think Silva and Colwill is the partnership I'd prefer to go with. Ben Chilwell left back. Then we get into the dream midfield two for the first time. Enzo Fernandez, MOISES CAICEDO. I just think it'd be really exciting to see that pair on the team sheet for the first time. We're going to see it this season, but I think it'd be nice to see it on Sunday, and also seeing Enzo have that more progressive role. You know, we saw the pass he played at the London Stadium last season for Joao Felix, and hopefully he can do something similar, really advancing up the pitch a bit more, having that license now, and seeing how Caicedo's influence and involvement can very much keep Chelsea on the front foot and prevent West Ham getting those transition opportunities, which I'm sure they'll be trying to capitalise on throughout the game. The three behind the striker, Raheem Sterling, I think, deserves to keep his place after his performance against Liverpool. I thought he was really involved, created a few chances. I think he deserves to keep his place. And also Noni Madueke, you know, still working his way back. Conor Gallagher, I would have as the number 10. You know, this is the position that was obviously meant for Christopher Nkunku, but I think Gallagher asserted himself again really well against Liverpool despite playing in an unfamiliar position, and I just feel from a goal scoring perspective he gives a threat. I think he does as an advanced midfielder. I think he works really well off a striker. I think he's someone who anticipates runs into the box well, and I think can maybe finish chances. So I'd prefer to see him further up the pitch, and I think this is a good chance to give him those minutes. I would also start Mykhailo Mudryk. It's a little bit tough on Connie Chukwuemeka, of course, started last week, and again, I think gave a positive impression on his behalf. But I just think Mykhailo Mudryk, I just want that explosion of pace, and I just think gives that unpredictability, and this is a massive chance for him to really start to build his Chelsea career this season. So I'd go for Mudryk on the left. And then, of course, Nicholas Jackson up front, awaiting his first Premier League goal, but I don't think it's too far away, despite some of the stuff I've heard this week. Again, questioning why Chelsea haven't gone out and signed a regular proven goal scorer. I think Jackson will be that for Chelsea. I'm not going to say he's going to be like a 30-goal man, because he's still a very young player, but I do think that there's no point going out there and signing someone else unless that player, I even think like a younger profile doesn't make a lot of sense when you've got Amanda Broya. If you could buy a more experienced player who is okay being more rotational, I said this at the start of the summer, maybe an Olivier Giroud type figure, then maybe for a striker, but I'm positive about Jackson. So that's my starting 11. Let me know yours in the comments below. Negative now, two negatives. Firstly is Lewis Hall to Newcastle. Staggering turn of events given where we were even a week ago with him looking to sign that new deal. Looked like he was imminent, to go to Crystal Palace on loan for the season. That felt like a really good loan for him. And in a matter of days, it's all turned and he's now gone to Newcastle, loan deal with buy option clause. Apparently it's around 35 million, add-ons included. It's a sour one, it is, and I think it dampens some of the good business Chelsea and the majority have done this pre-season. And I think it will be an extra kick. Well, number one, it's a team we expect to be competing with now for Champions League spots. Number two, it's also, if Marc Cucurella is still in the squad past transfer deadline date and we've sold Lewis Hall, I know for a lot of people that will feel very sour, and it will feel like Chelsea making mistakes that they've made too often, where it feels like academy talents are paying the price for experienced more expensive or supposedly more experienced players who underperformed, and that's what unfortunately Marc Cucurella is. I find it just weird that you get a situation where a player is committing their future and then wants to leave in the space of a week. Now, there is obviously a personal thing here with Lewis Hall, family connections to Newcastle, of what that could personally mean for him. I always think that, you got to take your Chelsea hat off and Chelsea glasses at some point and go, okay, I can understand that from a fan point of view of wanting to play for a club that clearly means something to your family. I understand that. But to go from accepting your long-term future at Chelsea to then wanting to leave, or at least that's the way it's being reported, I think those two things just don't match up personally to me. I think it's just a strange turn of events in a very quick period of time. And unfortunately, too often, I think, as I've seen throughout recent years and also this summer, and I think, it helps out the club, is that, people very much fall for it and then target the player. And I just, I find it a bit bizarre, and it's just not a good look when you're losing a player like Lewis Hall in this manner, and we probably could have handled it better. But he clearly wants football. The saving grace in some ways, if you're just looking at it from a left-back perspective, is you do have Ian Maatsen, but I still find it absolutely absurd that I'm hearing stories that Chelsea are looking to sell Ian Maatsen, or even open to that. I just find it absolutely ridiculous. It really is, in terms of what he could offer. To, losing Lewis Hall, sure, he's had limited experience, and that's maybe one of the way it's been put to me, is like, he's had a lack of Premier League experience. But that doesn't really take into account his performance levels compared to others who did have more Premier League experience and weren't performing at the same level as him last season. One of the rare good things about Chelsea last season was Lewis Hall. And then also, if we're looking at the fee, Mark Gurhey, we sold Mark Gurhey, who didn't have any Premier League starts or any Premier League experience, to Crystal Palace for 20 million. Can't really believe that Lewis Hall, with quite a few more experiences at this stage, is only worth, 15 million more if we're talking about inflation in the market. So I think it's a negative. I think it's one Chelsea could come to rue. It doesn't mean that Chelsea don't have good options like an Ian Maatson who can fill that spot. I just find the situation really weird in the sense that it's gone from, loan, we're keeping this player, to going. It may just be a case that Newcastle jumped at the situation, but apparently Chelsea originally were resistant to selling Lewis Hall. Was there a change of heart with the player, like, dramatically, and that's what's swayed things? Is it the FFP side of things that Chelsea want to sell? And then from a briefing point of view, it kind of looks a little bit nicer if the player is wanting to move on himself. I think he's a very talented player, and I think he will help Newcastle, no doubt. And then we get to the Reece James injury. I can't say I'm massively surprised, because how can you be by Reece James injury at this point? I think it just comes back to something I said months ago, and people got annoyed when I said, and it's something that I said consistently about N'Golo Kante. It's like, I think it's very difficult to regard a player as a vital key player when they're consistently injured, and they're one that you just can't rely on for the majority of the season. I think my big frustration for years with Kante was Chelsea knew his injury record, and there was no mitigation. There was no player that you're never going to find, an exact copy, but someone who could do a competent job in his place. At the very least with this situation, we've done that with Malo Gusto, and I think it's been proven already how valuable a signing he is going to prove to be if you've got a player who's consistently going down injured. I think for Reece, it's a massive concern. I mean, will he have surgery on this hamstring? Because it seems to be something that continues to play up. And isn't it just worth getting the surgery over and done with, if that is what is required here? But also, again, it's just because you're and Reece James is probably from like a pound for pound sort of talent, technical ability. Yeah, he's probably the best player Cobham has produced in a very long time. But talent and potential ceilings don't really matter if you're not available majority of the time. And availability and durability are very, very, of course, valuable things. And again, it's just like, I think that I've spoken about other players in regards to, in comparison to Reece James in recent years, and why I felt that others have been, you could put on a higher pedestal than Reece. And it's not because Reece isn't a game changer when he's available. He absolutely is. But when he's not available, and if he's not available consistently throughout a season, it's very difficult to then build your plans around him. So at least we've got Malo Gusto, but I think the James thing continues to be a problem, and it's just a concern that these injury problems don't seem to be going away anytime soon. And then what does that mean for the rest of his career? Because it'd just be a real heartbreaking situation if a player as ridiculously talented and gifted as Reece James has his career stalled or even dramatically derailed because of this. Because let's just hope something will turn and he'll be able to get over these injuries. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Another day closer to returning to the UK, hopefully with England as World Cup winners. And I will see you again very soon. All the best.